Welcome back to the Choice Morning After with John Anthony. You know, one of the things that I think we are in short supply of is leadership. And that's why our guest today is someone who understands that leadership is not something you stumble into. Excuse me. I think it's something that you prepare for long before your name ever appears on the ballot. Emily Bauman serves on the 12th District Executive Committee and is currently an elected member of the Westland City Council. She's also the owner of 12 Trees Coaching, a leadership development organization, and the founder of the Westland Arts Foundation, a nonprofit focused on the physical, mental, and economic benefits of public and community art. Emily brings a rare combination of real-world experience across the private sector, nonprofit leadership, and public service. Her background spans telecommunications, healthcare, retail, hospitality, and community-based organizations. She's an honors scholar graduate of Schoolcraft College with a degree in political science and earned a service endorsement through her Capstone work, grounding her education in action rather than theory alone. Emily and her husband have lived in New York, Colorado, and Michigan, raising their 3 children while remaining deeply rooted in faith and community at Peace Lutheran Church. She joins us to talk about the Michigan Political Leadership Program, a program designed to prepare leaders before crisis, before ambition, and before power. In a time when politics feels, as I spoke in the earlier segment, fractured, reactive, and often unmoored from trust, her focus is on something deeper, developing leaders with character, clarity, and the capacity to serve well in divided times. Emily, welcome to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You know, before we talk about your program, I think I would love people to get to know you. You serve as an elected official, a nonprofit founder, a business owner, and a party leader. When all the titles are stripped away, how do you personally define leadership?
I generally define leadership as someone who's willing to help see so basically, number one, continue to improve themselves. You've got to be, whatever role you're given, whatever title you're given, going deeper and learning more about what you're responsible for doing and how that's going to help serve others. And then you have to make sure you grab someone else's hand. You have to make sure that you're helping somebody else and helping them learn the leadership skills, and then you release them so that they can continue to lead.
Yeah. Now, you've lived in New York, Colorado, and Michigan, 3 very distinct and different type of states. What did living in different parts of the country teach you about community, governance, and civic responsibility?
Well, definitely different dynamics of people that live there, and as well as the environment, because, of course, Colorado is a beautiful area to live in, and Michigan is a beautiful area, and they're very different. And I love learning more about why people would have been there. Like, why do they move to Michigan? Why do they move to Colorado?
Yeah.
Obviously, New York was one of the first 13, so it was, they kind of landed there, and you just kind of, I love paying attention to the westward progression and what made people go places and then even stay. So I think I think it actually adds just to the understanding the history and understanding our country.
You know, for those that may not be familiar, what is the Michigan Political Leadership Program, and why does it exist?
It exists actually to help people who are interested in becoming more engaged in the political and governmental affairs, and it actually they actually recruit people because they want to train and inspire so that they can have a good foundation and a good basis for governing in the future. I can read the whole thing directly and things like that, but I think one of the big things that they saw the problem was that they really wanted to bring people of the different parties and totally bipartisan effort together to talk, to discuss, to figure things out so that they are prepared to do that if they were to go into elected office.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I think we lack in leadership is leadership under pressure. You see a lot of people get into these positions of power, and when the pressure comes, how do you prepare leaders for that? How to handle not just criticism, but isolation and moments when doing the right thing is not the popular thing?
I have to say, I don't necessarily know that we do a good job with that in any form.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that but as part of my 12 trees, it's something that's something I personally have worked on myself.
Yeah.
So that I have put together programs to be able to help people do that, because one of the things that is so important is knowing how to breathe, knowing how to separate your emotion in the moment from your answer that you're going to give. And so some of it's practice, some of it's just, repetition, doing it even when it's not the time. And, and I think I'll give a different example. Yeah. In military or even in football, they are constantly practicing the plays so that when they're in the big game, they're ready and prepared. They don't have to think. They can just do. And that's a little bit of what I don't think we do in a regular way, of saying that when we go into our work environments, or we go into, whether it's be political or we go on anything, what are we doing to prepare ourselves over and over and over again, so that when we're actually on the spot and something happens to do something, we don't have to be shaken.
Yeah. You said something about 12 trees. Please do explain that out. What are the 12 trees? I love that.
I won't go to all of that. The 12.
The most important ones.
It's got a very It's like I have a discipline series. That's what they call them. And one of my favorite ones actually is called the responsive tool belt, where exactly what I just said is that you actually have a tool belt of responses that you can give that allow you to set your emotions aside or just bring them down a little bit, so that you can actually move forward to the next thing, especially when you're in a situation where you're feeling that pressure. That's actually the one that more often I can use personally, as well as tell people how to use it so that they're prepared, even if they haven't practiced it. And I'll give my favorite one is thank you. So I tell people, if you're ever in a situation and you don't know, something's going on, just say thank you, which will allow your brain to kind of set aside, and then you can just hopefully answer the question and not be so kind of triggered, so to speak. And then my other one, I go through different ones, like abundance mentality, because we all know that when you think things are scarce, it gets really stressful.
Yeah.
But if you think it differently, then it's not as bad there. So yeah.
When you look at politics today, it feels, and this is just for me, it feels more fractured now than any point in recent memory. From your perspective, what are the deepest fractures driving this divide, and how does one repair those divides as a leader?
I know we all have different perspectives on this.
Yeah.
I know my perspective is that I think that the division is in we the people. I don't think it's in the leaders. And I tell people this. I go, it's we the people. We've allowed a divide to happen, and we perpetuate the divide. And it kind of goes along with every time we get upset about something, we're actually kind of helping the divide go more and more. I mean, and every one of us I take responsibility for anything I do that can cause division. And sadly, some of it could be that people, that there are people that kind of, they want that divide.
Yeah.
And because they either they don't know how to deal with something that they don't agree with, or that isn't in their way of thinking, or they don't want to.
Yes.
So I hate to say that it's a choice.
Yeah.
I think it's a choice.
Listening is crucial in anything, especially leadership. But what role does listening play in healing these fractures? And how because it seems to me that there's these purity tests in politics today, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. How do leaders listen without surrendering their conviction?
They listen. Man, just joking.
That's easier said than done, right?
No. Who listens?
Yeah.
No, your first part is what role does leadership play?
Yeah.
Listening play. Listening plays a huge role, but I don't think people do listen. because if especially if they're thinking about what they're going to say next, they're not listening. They can't. There's no way to listen. So they're only thinking about what they're going to say and how people are going to think of them and all of that. And so when you don't do that and you're not needing, 15 minutes, you're just needing to do your job well, I think that makes a huge difference. And the other part with listening too, and this is with government, is that government's not, I don't believe government was ever meant to fix every problem
Correct.
between people. And so there's an element of part of that listening is, unfortunately, having to tell people that you might not like this answer. This answer might not be the one you're looking for because we can't fix it.
Yeah.
I can't fix it for you.
Yeah.
We've got to work together.
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about the local level.
Yes.
I'm as with local, you've got neighborly disputes and things like that. And, they don't necessarily have to deal with it at the higher level. But, and sometimes it's really like, you just need to talk to each other.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of your friend Vance Patrick. He doesn't listen at all. He just sent me. He just sent me a text, and she's a friend of Vance Patrick. So, he just doesn't listen. He doesn't. But here's a question, because I think sometimes we try to look back as it relates to leadership, and sometimes what worked before won't work now. What skills do you believe are essential today that were probably not as necessary a generation ago as it relates to how we define leadership today?
You're going to hear another perspective of mine in this answer, and that is that I don't think it's different. I think the human nature, the human condition, the human thought, I actually think it's very much the same. I think what's different is what's outside of us, not what each of us is. I think even whether you want to talk about crime or good things, they're all the same. I think power, greed, all the other things are the same. I think, happiness, joy, I think it's really very much the same, and the human part is the same. And so I think the skill sets are actually the same that we need. And I think, like you said, it's listening, it's the caring of others above self. It is the idea that, I can't fix everything for everybody. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't get to pick and choose. So this is one of the things that I think we've got to stop. I see it a lot where if I like somebody, then whatever they do is okay.
Yeah. And
if I don't like them, then everything they do is wrong.
Right. I mean, you can say that about Trump on both sides of the aisle, right? People who hate him and people who don't who love him. I mean, I think Trump is the perfect example of somebody like that, right?
And I've seen it before. I've been involved in a number of things where it's like we worked really hard because we didn't like what someone was doing, and then all of a sudden we get something else. I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're doing the same thing, and they're like, oh, but we like that person. I'm like, wait, no, you can't do that.
But for someone listening who they have their eye on one day running for office, because I advise and consult a lot of leaders from around the country who are looking to run for office. They reach out to me and say, hey man, listen, this is what I want to do. But here specifically in Michigan, if someone wants to, if they're thinking about office, how do they how do they get in touch with the Michigan Political Leadership Program to learn and get a better grasp of the issue, not just the issues, because I see some people running today and I'm like, what the heck are you running for? How can people get involved in your Michigan Political Leadership Program?
So it's actually not my program. Just okay. So just make sure that so in order to get into the Michigan Political Leadership Program, I had to apply. So it's actually not my program.
Okay.
But it is a 10-month intensive program for people that get selected. Yeah. So anyone can apply. If they're interested, they are welcome to apply. I do believe, so they do look at, there is an opportunity, like for a graduate or something, if they know somebody, to actually nominate somebody, or they can get they have to get some recommendations, letters of recommendation, and things like that. So it's actually, if they just do a search on Michigan Political Leadership Program, they will come up with the link over there because it's a really long link, so I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Because I've got it open right now.
Yeah.
So you'll see it as MPLP and things like that, and it's through MSU, so it's a really interesting program.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really, and then you just apply, and they close off applications like in September or August, I think. So if someone's interested, they just cannot be running for office during the year that they're in the program.
Okay.
So so I applied last year and it was like several months between application and getting all the things that they needed from me for my application.
So it sounds like you may be thinking about running for some higher office too, though.
I could.
Where can people follow you? Where can people find you and follow you?
They can find. So I have my own website, which is emilybauman.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also 12 Trees Coaching. If you just spell it out, 12treescoaching.com. That's my organization. And I know you mentioned Westland Arts. That's an upcoming. It's a startup, so we're still working on some things with that.
Yeah, Emily, we got about a minute left. I want you to talk really quickly about mental health and leadership, because I think you see a lot of people in leadership or want to get in leadership, but mental health is crucial. How do you protect that?
That's probably where my 12 Trees comes in. Having spent time with that and putting that together, is that it really is having to take care of yourself. And there's a whole thing that and I talk about this in one of my programs, my disciplines, is that you have to first say that those feelings that you felt, whether those emotional feelings you felt, they're actually okay. They're real. Don't deny what you're feeling in your head. If you're feeling something, don't deny it. But you have to acknowledge it. You then have to basically ask yourself, what's real? Is it real that something is going on? Is it what's real, kind of thing, and then go how to deal with it.
Yeah.
The key is to not ignore something, but to actually make sure you're caring for it.
Emily Bauman, 12th District Executive Committee, owner of 12 Trees Coaching. Thanks so much for joining us on Detroit's Morning Answer today. I wish we had more time.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back.